Good morning all to the Barbados Beach House build. Hope you're all well. Lovely overcast day today. Okay, I thought I'd check in because we're actually going to do some more work for once. So, is it going to go plain sailing? Is it going to be a headache? Is it going to be to budget? Who knows? So anyway, I'm going to go downstairs and I'll show you in a minute. So what we're doing at the moment, if you remember rightly when we had the house built, this big room here, so underneath the main patio, was meant to be full of marl. When I analysed the cost of filling it with marl versus putting extra steel in the actual ceiling, the patio floor, and turning it into a room, it just didn't make any sense. So anyway, it's one big empty room if you remember rightly. So I'm going to take you downstairs now and show you quickly. I mean, bear in mind the doors are shut because they're doing laser work. But I'll show you what we're doing at the moment. We're going to just try and initially turn it into a room. At the moment it is a room. Obviously people want it white with power, lights, water, etc. And then I'll talk about the plan, potentially what we'll do with it at a later stage. So let me take you down and show you what we're doing with it so far. Before I start gabbling, if you don't mind, I don't normally ask you guys, but if you don't mind hitting that subscribe button below and liking the video if the content is good. And then also, do me a favour, comment. Met a few people this week that are on the island that have been watching the channel for the last year or so. Very few of them have liked the channel. Very few of them have subscribed to the channel. So, but also comment, please, if you don't mind. So, okay, we're down in basement 1. So, let me spin it around and I'll show you what it's meant to be. So it's roughly a 37 by 27 foot room. So let me just quickly put some light on.
You got one?
If I can see.
That red?
Okay, right, so they're shutting the door because they're doing some laser work over there. So anyway, it's that backs onto the swimming pool. That backs onto the actual basement of the cottage. This backs onto the bowling alley, what we call the bowling alley. So we've been trying to find water and electrics, but it looks like because this was initially going to be a room that was full of marl, as you can appreciate, look at it, look, 8 foot, 40 by 30, full of marl. But as a result of that, these walls were poured. So we only managed to get one set of water coming down when we changed it at the last minute. So we've got hot and cold coming down here, which is the wrong side, because over there would be the bathroom. So if this ever becomes an apartment, this basically, as you see on the wall here that I've marked out, is where the kitchen would be. That would be a kitchen along here. This would be a living room, dining room, if you like, connected straight into the bowling alley. We had the mains put in, obviously for future use. That's now going to be opened up today. As you can see, we found the conduits. We've chased out the floor now for obviously the power to be coming down to the floor and run through. And what's on the floor at the moment is a binding. So there's a marl surface, obviously it's come up there, probably about 3 to 4 foot of marl that's come up, been rolled and compacted with a DPM underneath. And then this is a binding. It's a very small, thin, I think they call it like a 2-down. It's a very small grit, like marl, and they mix it with concrete and they pour it. So this is probably around about 3 inches thick. This is the initial stage you put down first, and then there'll be more DPM, which is damp-proof membrane. Then they put smocks, then they put BRC, which is a gridded steel, and then they'll pour concrete around about sort of 5 inches. It'll be about 5 inches down here, mainly because it's got to cover, number one, obviously you've got damp, so it's got to make sure that it's big enough for that. Obviously there's slabs here that have got to be covered. These are the actual foot pads for the columns. And then all the way around, there's the footings for all of the walls. So this one here is the biggest one, which is a real pain in the backside. This is the actual footing, which is the main slab of the basement of the cottage. Now, I'd love to be able to cut that out, but the outer perimeters of all of the foundations have got the cages all the way around. So it's going to be caged all the way around here. So it'll be quite a thing to cut out, number one. And number two, it could weaken the structure above. So that's a no-no. So as you can see here, the trap is already in the floor for the shower. This would be the shower area, 4-foot shower like we've got over the road, connecting into the main waste going out. This would be where the toilet is. This would be where the sink is. And this area here to this column would be a partition wall with a door in it. Conduits above here, obviously for the light that will be in the wall, if we ever turn it into a room, that is. And this would be a partition wall along here. And this would be bedroom 1. So it'd just be a 1-bedroom, nice big bedroom, bed over there, TV on this wall, again open in here, There's a conduit coming down here. This is where the light switch would be. There'll be a door somewhere in between this opening here. And this would be boarded up, obviously. This would be one room. So it'd be a bathroom, bedroom, living room and kitchen. As you can see, the actual room itself, the living room, is probably around about, I'd say, 20 foot by 26 foot. So it's a nice size. But obviously it's a kitchen dining room. So there's a lot going on in there. So we've started marking out where the electrics are going to be. So power point here, power point here. There will be one in this wall eventually, so we'll put a spare over there and that'll be run into that wall eventually. The guys obviously are here doing the electrics. Morning, morning, morning. All the electrics will be run across the floor. Initially, if this does become a kitchen, obviously cooker, so it'll be a 220 here, 220 above, another unit, a 110 and 110 below. Centre of the kitchen itself, another 120 up here, or 110 with another one below. Again, this will be like the sink area here, D for dishwasher, F for fridge. So you'll have 9 units. I don't like 9, but I didn't want to be up against what in effect this is going to be a wall, and I didn't want to be up against there as well. So a 22.5 foot centre line gives us 9 units. So what we're trying to do at the moment with the laser is just work out, we want to be, the concrete is going to be roughly 5 inches, but obviously the room itself is slightly sloping that way, which we also want to continue with the floor as well, because if water ever does come in here, we want to make sure it's not incentivised to run in. And you've seen the issues I've had with concrete. So we're probably going to be higher over here than we are over here, which means the concrete might be a bit thicker down here. So the laser line they've just done on there is just making sure we can establish the line to ensure that we understand how high the kitchen units are going to be if they're ever put in, and then we can measure exactly where these sockets need to be to make sure they're nice and straight. So all of the sockets around, in the bathroom there's only going to be power for the LED mirror and shaver socket, and then above there's an extractor. We did extractor and power on all of it here, being the basement, as you can see. And then what we've been doing in the last couple of days is planing down some of the 2x4s we got, because they're going to be going on said roof. And 16-inch centre, and then we'll be doing 4 foot by 8 foot plasterboard all the way along. As you can see, the boards themselves that are on the ceiling, you've got, pretty much got the shapes of the actual the size of the boards needed. So as you can see, you've got 1, 2, 3, 3.5, and then you've actually got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.5. So we've got 5.5 widths by 3.5 lengths in this piece, and that bit's a bit smaller. So the plasterboard won't be cheap, but that's what we'll be doing with that. So what I'm going to do with the roof itself is, once we've actually battened the roof, I'm going to use the air conditioning boxing. If you don't remember right there, that 1-inch thermal silver boarding that they cut and then make the actual ducting out of. I'm going to buy sheets of that, and I'm going to cut them up, and I'm going to put them inside the 16 inches to ensure we get some form of, and we'll just spray glue that, spray foam it, stick them in. That will then give us a little bit of an R value on protecting the heat from the slab above coming into the room. And I am considering on whether we're going to put the actual the silver quilt that I've got in the basement next door. Do I actually pull that across, staple that? Let me know in the comments below whether you think I should do that. Anyone out there that's experienced on insulation, let me know. Barbados doesn't do insulation, it's very hot country. But what they should be doing really, obviously, is insulating to keep the heat out, or air conditioning, cool it in. So where this room's concerned, because the slab gets a lot of heat from the sun, obviously it heats up, and obviously heats up down here. So I've got to try and do something with the floor up there and the shading up there anyway, but initially on this ceiling, if I can try and put some form of insulation value in that enables to protect that would be great. Now normally, my understanding is you would normally create a cavity. So rather than sticking it to the concrete, you would normally board it straight across and then board on that. That would then create a cavity, create an insulation, etc. So let me know in the comments below, do I stick the insulation straight onto the ceiling? Or do I stick it on the ceiling and put a board over as well? Or do I leave the gap between the joists empty and board across the actual 2x4s on the ceiling, or whether it be 2x2s, and do I then put plasterboard over that? That does mean obviously we're going to lose another inch in height, because we do the 2x2s on the ceiling, we would have another inch of insulation, then we'd have the plasterboard, so we'd probably be coming down by about 1.5 inches. So let me know what you think. Do I actually stick that on the ceiling or create a cavity? That is the question. I'm not experienced enough to know what you would do there. Anyway, so all the conduits are here. All these conduits, as you can see, are what are going to be run across the floor for the electrics. We've had to order schedule 80 hot pipe to go on the floor, because what I don't want, obviously, is it perishing over time and breaking up on time, being in concrete. So all of the services that go for the floor, which is going to be concreted. So as you can appreciate, anything that's in it, I want to make sure is good. So it's not bloody cheap, and it's going to be a 2-week turnaround to get it here. And they only do it in 20-foot lengths as well. So yeah, it's worked out about 900 Bayesian just for, I think it's 12 lengths of pipe. So, but anyway, it needs to be right with pipe work. So obviously what we'll do is we'll take that pipe work from here, hot and cold. They're both the same as well for some reason. Rather than here, normally the cold is near, about 3/4 of an inch, and the hot is normally 1/2 inch. But both the pipes are going to be 1/2 inch for some reason. So both those 1/2 inch pipes are going to be connected here, run 90 degrees straight over to the other side of the room. And then on the other side of the room, they're going to come up centrally, just here in this gap that we've made, straight up to here, and they're just going to sit there for now until we decide whether that's going to be turned into a kitchen or not. There's no point running hot and cold left and right. So you will have 2 tails coming out of the concrete with plenty of room on them to be able to connect and run the services along. That does mean that the services will also have to be run from here all the way down to the bathroom. So for the sink, the toilet and the shower, the hot and cold will have to be run straight across, and the downstroke will have to come up and across here. So what we're probably going to do with this beam is box that up. So the best thing to do would be to cut it out, obviously. That means we've got a nice flush wall and be able to plaster the wall and do what we've got to do. However, like I said, because of the infrastructure that's in it, I think we'd be pretty close to cut into it. So again, let me know in the comments below, what do you think I should do? Should I cut that out? And if so, what's your thoughts on the strength of the foundation being weakened? And if you don't, why? I don't think I should. But it does mean that we're going to have to pretty much, it's about 12 inches all the way along, that we're going to have to literally box that up, 12 inches. So it does mean we'll be able to lose the toilet cistern in the wall. So again, rather than having a box and a shelf, the toilet would, pedestal would sit straight up against the wall there. The sink would sit away from it as well. And also it means that the shower, mixers, etc., if we ever do it, obviously, they'll all be built on the wall as well. So everything will be hidden. But again, it's overkill. We only really need about 8 inches, so it's looking like it's going to be 10 to 12 inches by the time you've actually taken off the slight angle on this. It's sort of bending outwards. So I think by the time we've actually boxed that in, we are going to be about 12 inches. So anyway, that's where we are so far. Obviously we're going to land up plasterboarding these initially until we know what we're going to do with the room. We'll plasterboard these, get those sanded down, get those painted. So eventually this will be one open, white, plain room for storage until we know what we're going to do with it. So yeah, I'll update you a little bit later on as when the day progresses. You guys are obviously starting to look at the mains unit and the cabling and the cutting. Today's going to be the messy part. It's going to be grinding out all of the actual, chasing out all of the actual runs for the electrics to go into the walls, and getting the first fix of the electrics up and in. And I suppose then the day after will be sort of trying to pull some cables through. And the rest of it, obviously, is still planing down the wood. We've got to go and buy a new blazer, etc. today. As you can see here, we're just going to plane down the 2x4s. We need about 550 feet of 2x2s. So we technically need 250-ish foot, 260 foot of 2x4s planed in half. So we started that yesterday, but the blade was not sharp enough. So we'll continue with that, and I'll update you throughout the day. Okay, welcome back. Let's get downstairs and have a quick look where they all are with everything. In the meantime, we have an almond tree moved. Fingers crossed it will take. It was suddenly just started growing on the beach. From nowhere. There's not even an almond tree there, so I'm not too sure how it suddenly started growing, but it's now been dug up and it's in our back garden, so fingers crossed. It'll create a nice canopy and a bit of shade for us to be able to lay down at some stage in the next couple of years. So anyway, let's see how that pans out. But let me take you downstairs. But don't forget, before I carry on gabbling, don't forget to give us that little thumbs up below. Okay. Sherman's down there doing some cutting. Conduits are all laid out. Just crack on, Sherman, don't worry about the noise. And the guys have been chasing it on the wall. Over here. Okay, so these guys, looks like they have attempted to do a disc cut and then chased out. All these conduits on the floor, bent in shape, waiting to go. Obviously, all these are going to be running back to the mains itself. These are all joined together and tail up all the way through. Two here, this is where the bed would be if it was a bedroom at some stage. So we're trying to bear in mind the room with its end use rather than where it is now. Again, one on the wall here. This wall here, as I said, is not going to be there at the moment, but we're putting power over here and extending one to here as well. As you can see this disc cut line here. So then it can, at some stage can come into the wall. And they've marked out briefly up here where they're just going to put a light switch here for now. At some stage would come into this wall, obviously, like I said earlier on. So still plenty to do. This is all the 2x2s that Sherman's been planing down. This is all now marked out a little bit better, so we know what's going to be going on the wall, so there's still more cutting, etc. to be done. Word to self, bring an extension lead when you're an electrician so you can actually use your own equipment so that you don't stop dear Sherman trying to work. Yeah, so it looks like they're using their extension and our extension to get over to this corner, so it looks like they might have gone for a bit of lunch. So anyway, that's where we are so far. So we're hoping to try and get the conduits all the way around the outside to try and stop anything in the middle. If we have to drill down into the floor or whatever else, we don't want to be drilling into pipe work. So again, this one here will come all the way along the outside and then across to here, and then we'll feed along and up. All the tails will come up from the floor. The only thing we'll have coming down will be for the extractors. Like I said over here, we've got an extractor over here that's going to be coming down. For some reason, it's been put there. I assume it's because it's over. Oh, why is it there? That's going to be a sink, so I'm not too sure why they're drawing that there. Okay, buddy, see you tomorrow. Or this afternoon. You getting the other soil, yeah? You getting the other bag of soil?
Yeah.
So we've got an extractor here. So that is the electrics. It's not the extractor. So what we were looking to potentially do was to go through into the cottage and take it out one of the walls for this room. But I don't think that one is exactly the same as these ones. These ones have got the power above, but we've also got a 4-inch tube going all the way through the mile, all the way out the other side of the cottage. This one over here is exactly the same. Again, 4-inch tube going all the way through. I don't know if you can see through that side. Just about to see some daylight. So we've got power above there. Obviously, you put extractor in here. So that extractor will fit straight in and be powered by above. But the end one doesn't have that. However, this is a wall here. This isn't going into a mark-filled hole. This is obviously going into next door. However, the top piece on all of it, as you can see, is the beam. So right at the very top, that's a beam going all around. So we're not going to drill straight through, so it'll be quite low. So we'll have to think about that. That would be a 4-inch hole going straight in, and then we'll have to angle left, go all the way along and straight out the other side of the building. So that if this ever does become an apartment, then this will be a shower, the steam, etc. gets taken out that way. So anyway, that's where we are so far. If anybody knows anyone in construction that is good at doing concrete, let me know. We've got a couple of people we're talking to at the moment for quotes. So we're looking at breaking down the packages, you know, a BRC, stroke rebar package, a concrete package, a polishing package. We're doing that at the moment. But in an ideal world, if we can find someone that does the whole thing, then that would be great. We're getting prices from 15,000 to 25,000. So quite a big difference. The concrete itself doesn't really need to have any BRC put into it, but we would have BRC put into it just in case. But again, it could be, I think it's A98. You've got A98 and A96. 96 is the thicker stuff. 98 is the thinner stuff, as far as I'm aware. So we'd only have to go quite thin. But again, we probably get away with just putting fibre in the concrete because it's not going to be, there's not going to be any great pressure or weight put onto it. So there's no real need. But again, those two prices are both with BRC, smocks, etc. DPM most important because it's obviously right on the floor. You need to get a good DPM membrane down. And again, ideally, we need that down now before they start putting conduits down because it's got to go underneath. So it might be something I have to go and buy and put down, but I'm just very mindful on BRC, on the DPM. We start walking on it when there's grit and stuff on the floor, and then you start puncturing and put holes in it, and that defeats the point of doing it. So I might have to go and do that in the meantime. But if anybody knows any concrete people on the island that might be able to give us a quote to come and do a lock stock price, supply, fit and polish, I greatly would appreciate the comments below. Also, if anybody's had any bad experiences on the island, let me know below as well in case we're talking to those people. Last thing we want to be doing is engaging another concrete supplier that can't do concrete. And there's lots of people on the island that unfortunately don't do concrete as well as they should do. And we want to make sure that the floor downstairs is good. It's going to be a finished concrete floor like the house with a sealant over the top. So we want to make sure whoever does it does a great job. It's run right. It's polished well. And yeah, with a couple of rugs, if it was a room, it would look great. Anyway, other than that, I'm still gassing, so I'll let Sharon carry on planing away. We've got all the construction screws and that lot, so at some stage this week, stroke next, we're going to start getting that pot onto the ceiling. Again, if anybody knows any insulation providers, like I said later on, let me know, but I think I'll go for those 1-inch sheets. I think it's probably the best thing to do. But let me know below, guys, if there's any advice-wise you would give on the cavity gap. It's an 8-inch slab, it gets bloody hot, and what we want to try and do is stop that heat transfer. So I'm under the impression normally you would create a cavity with an insulation, so sticking it straight on the ceiling, I think they call that a warm roof, don't they? I'm sure it would do the same thing, but again, we've got a depth issue in as much as they don't import insulation here. It's too expensive, it's too light, it's too thick, so by the time you fill up a 40-foot container, you don't get a great deal of insulation into it. So the weight and the size prevents the import. They do bring in the thinner sheets, the 1-inch ones, but again, do I buy sheets and just cut them up and double them up so we'll end up getting sort of 2 inches, we fill it up, or do we have to have that cavity? Let me know in the comments below. I'm learning as much as potentially some of you are, but there might be some experienced people on here that know exactly what to do. So the steer and the comments will be greatly appreciated. So hit me below, give me any comments you like. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up, and I'll check in with you in a minute. Thank you. Okay, welcome back to the channel. I hate it when people say that. Welcome back to the channel. Okay, so the guys have obviously left the evening. Let me just show you what we've actually got up to today. A few bits in, still a lot more work to be done. I think the guys had a bit of an issue with their grinder and their grinding disc today, because I wanted to use ours, but we were using it, and anyway. But let me show you what they've actually done so far. Okay, so we've got some of the actual conduits going in place, again diagonal rather than around the corners, but again they do have to pull the cables through, which is a bit awkward. So having it more direct to the source is better. Here's another one. Here's another one. Conduits are now coming over to where they need to be over here as well. Conduits coming over here as well. Some clearing up need to be done on here. This is what I told you about, where they're going to extend it over to the actual, this piece here. We'll put another socket here eventually. That will be rerouted into the wall, because what I wanted is, this is all going to be plastered. What I didn't want to be doing is having to score through a wall to get into a new wall that was created at some stage when we do, if we ever do this partition wall across. Nothing's been done on this side as yet, but over here they did make a start, which is when they had the issue with the grinding disc. On that note, the best disc to buy, certainly if you're doing the sort of 3.5 inch ones, is Makita do one in Koymans. It's got the diamond bezel around the outside. I think they're $34.99. They're brilliant, they last forever. So this is why they started using mine, but then we had to take it off of them. But anyway, so they've got to do a cut up here, obviously. They've got to do a cut over to where the cooker would be. Here, they've already chased that one up, as you can see, rather than just doing a nice cut. They've obviously tried to use just some form of hilty, which is pretty messy. So yeah, they're better off coming back with the blade, obviously just doing the cuts, and then chiseling it out. Same here. So obviously we've got one for the fridge. We've got one, then that's if we ever put it here, and that's where they go, obviously. Fridge, dishwasher, there'll be another one here, and then there's an L shape, obviously, up to have one above the counter. And all of these little marks are all sort of balanced out for a 9-piece unit. And then same over here, obviously. They'll do the same here. They'll come up through here. They'll probably have to chase that out, obviously. Come up here, cut up, another socket up here. There's no real need to have a power down here, because this is just going to be storage here. So that's all they need to do with that. We did have an issue with the extension lead. The guys couldn't reach upstairs, so their lead didn't work, so I had to use ours. So we were a bit delayed on cutting the wood, but most of the wood is now being cut down, ready for the ceiling. I just need to double check that we've got the right amount of wood cut. There's some more here as well. So again, we need 560 foot. So yeah, I'm under the impression so far we've got about 400 and something. So we've still got some cutting to do. And the guys were starting to do something on this. Maybe not, I got it out of the box anyway. So that's obviously going to be the mains board that's going to go in to the hole over here. So again, in an ideal world, I'm going to try and find out whether they can cut that right out. There does seem to be some marking on the wall. I want that cut out, I want it sunk in the wall. I don't want it to be surface mounted. That's what they've done my other ones, horrible. So in an ideal world, I want a plastered finish, and I want it sitting behind the bezel, and the bezel then sitting over it to make it nice and neat. Should be surface mounted, so yeah, I'm not too sure what they're going to do, but there are some black marks on here. So I don't know if that means they've obviously put it on the wall and drawn around it, as you can see up here. So fingers crossed that'll be the first one we have, which is sunk into the wall itself, so we can actually finish off. So anyway, that's it so far. I have been to Carter's, got the DPM, 100-foot roll, 10-foot wide. I think it was $87, which is pretty good. And I've also bought some new cutting discs for when we needed to start doing some stuff. The construction screws for the ceiling, the adapters for this tube that goes all the way along here into this corner. We're gonna have to lose that. But it does obviously take some of the excess water off of the patio. So we'll get a new one put in there with a reducer down to 3/4 inch, and we'll run a 3/4 inch 90 degrees that way to go straight through the wall over there. And then we'll join the one that goes back out. So we'll get it nice and thin, get it tucked up a little bit more. Obviously still have a run on it so the water works. Probably do an inch rather than 3/4. I mean, it would be better to use 3/4, but I think, you know, the level of water we need to go for an inch. So yeah, I run an inch that way. So 2 inch into a reducer, 1 inch, elbow it straight over, angle it down, T-junction, if not elbow it into the pipe out the other side. And then that means we release, obviously this gone, and then this corner with a big hole over here we'll get rid of. And we also then need to decide what we're going to do with the Cat 5 cabling, Cat 6 cabling here. This red cabling that comes through this hole, that goes back to the unit. That's the camera system and the internet for the cottage, basically. So I want to try and see whether there's a better way of routing that. Don't think there is, in all fairness. But again, if we can get it tucked up a little bit more, so it's, you know, so the ceiling itself is going to be around about 2.5 inches. So if we can try and maybe just get it tacked up a little bit more, and again, in an ideal world in England, we would run that through some conduit, steel conduit, not plastic. But again, putting a bit of conduit to make it a bit neater all the way around, so maybe we can look at doing that at the same time. And again, rather than the drop where the internet is here, its code goes through about 2 foot down. Maybe we can try and get it a bit higher. Again, you're going for the beam. So let's see where the power is over here. That power in the corner, very similar to this one here. Maybe that power goes all the way through. We'll have to double check that. But maybe we can route it through there and again get it up and out of the way. Okay, other than that, it's all pretty much as it is. So I'll check out for now, I'll upload. So I'm sure you guys will be like, wow, 2 videos in a month. But there is some work going on. So on that note, ooh, can you see it? So these were the conduits and the light fittings that were put on the ceilings. They've undone those as well. So again, the next stage is going to be, I'm trying to see where it is. They've got to obviously try and, there's a hole going that way, there's a hole going that way. So they've got a 90 degree that way and a 90 degree that way. So there's basically in here, I think there is 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, 4 in this room, but we're going to go with 9 lights in here. So from each one of these 4, then we'll end up having probably 3 off of each. And then the same on the other side, I think there's 4 over there. So again, we'll have some separate ones for the bathroom. Again, we're going to do the lighting as if that is a bathroom over there, that's a bedroom here, and this is one main room. Fixed off of one light switch for now, so when we come in, we turn on the light, everything comes on. But if we do turn it into an apartment later on, then it'll be segregated off, and that will have its own light switch. So will that, and so will this. So yeah, that's where we are so far. So anyway, I'll check out. Don't forget to give me a like and subscribe if you don't mind. More importantly to me, give me some comments. Because at the moment, I don't really get a great deal of comments, but I do appreciate some people watch it on the TV where you've got to get your phone out and do whatever else. But give me some comments in the meantime. And don't forget, any help on some of the stuff I discussed earlier, give me some of your worldly advice so I can try and pick up on it and learn from it. And as and when I get solutions, I'll do the same back. So anyway, but thanks for watching in the meantime. Over and out for now.